What we're meant to do. Gliding through the air, you see, it's everything that we can be. We just fly into the sky. Gliding through the air, you see, it's everything that we can be. We just fly.
Hi, you guys. This is Richard Sachs, Lost Arts Radio. Thanks for coming around and joining me for the show. And Doug is here from DiamondDiscAudio.com, keeping things together. We have a fun show today, and it's related to health issues, specifically supplements. And, you know, I'm experimenting with this kind of thing all the time because it's part of the foundation for the work that we do. And one of the things that I've always found imperfect about almost all the supplements is they're, you know, if you're coming from a place of being a live food person and eating raw living food and it's not processed or anything, that's organic. And then you have these supplements either in a capsule or a bag of powder. It's completely, well, from a live food perspective, it's completely dead. And a lot of the people who promote live foods kind of overlook that, or intentionally or otherwise. And they talk about it being part of a live food regimen and all the things that they need as supplements, but they can't find them in a live form unless they're drinking maybe fresh juice or things, but that's in limited concentration of various nutrients. So one of the examples of that I found to be important was spirulina. Some people say spirulina. I usually call it spirulina. And it's a dark green powder, and there are some producers that you produce it without any, you know, synthetic chemicals or anything. It's more or less organic. But it's not by any stretch of the imagination live food. And I've never heard a live food person talk about that issue. But lately I tried eating some spirulina after a talk with Dr. Bill, who was on our show from China, talking about the great advantages of concentrated sources of chlorophyll. And my body said, no, forget it. And I ended up throwing it away, 5 pounds of powdered spirulina. And that was kind of disappointing, and I thought, well, you're not going to be able to use this. And then one of our listeners said, I found this other source in Florida, and it's not dried. And I already knew that you can grow, well, the way spirulina is grown is in specially formulated environments in water that has certain mineral balances and other nutrients in it. But I never found a source of that was publicly available. There was just YouTube videos on how to do it in a 10-gallon aquarium if you don't want to use very much of it at a time. And I never played with that at all, and then found a company in Florida that's been there for years called Raw Living Spirulina, and I was wondering if I could get some of it to take a look at and try. So I called up and got one of the owners, whose name was Tim White, and he was kind enough to send me a sample. And I didn't have any preconception of what it would be, but it was great. And it was clearly live food. The first spirulina that I found that was in that category at all. So I thought, wow, we got to let everybody know about this. And especially the live food people, but everybody else too. Because if you're using a supplement and it's lacking life force, it's not what it could be. And this one is what it could be. So I want to hear all about the details of it. And Tim is here, and he's coming to us from the environment right inside the house, the greenhouse where the pond is located and the spirulina is grown. So it's going to be fun having a tour and finding out the details of how it's produced and what led him to that point. So welcome, Tim. I'm really glad you're here. And would like to hear, kind of include everybody in this talk, not just the people who already know all about what we're talking about. It's good for them, but they're not needing it as much as the people that have no idea what a spirulina even is. And so for them, I'd like to take it back a few years before you got into the whole living food thing and what led you to this point. And then we'll get into the spirulina itself.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Richard, for having me on today. This is definitely a passion of ours here. I've been a raw food, living food for about 17 years now. We like to say here that you don't search out spirulina. Spirulina will search out you and find you. And that's really how this all started. When you're in the right place at the right time, doing the right things, you will discover what you're looking for, whether it be a conscious finding or a subconscious spiritual thing that it just kind of comes to you. And very, very lucky, but in the other side, very determined to find the best, most powerful superfood on the planet. And when I found this, I was absolutely just blown away, like I had just landed on another planet.
Yeah.
Something you find.
Let me just interject one question, Tim. When you said you've been involved in living food for 17 years, I assume that means, for people that are not familiar with the concept, because we want to bring in new people, why would you want to just eat raw food, and what even gave you the idea to do that and stop eating anything else?
Well, from a very early age, I remember always eating food for nutrition. I didn't eat food so much for the taste of it or the substance. I was thinking that everything I was eating from as early as 16, 17 years old when I started juicing, that the nutrients and the food I was consuming was the best for my body to do what I wanted to do. I'm very athletic. I skied every day in the wintertime in Michigan where I grew up. I played golf in the summertime, played tennis in the summertime. I did a lot of running. So it was something that I was, as an athlete, I wanted to find the best source of nutrition that I could find. And it led me to juicing. I was juicing. I bought the first juicer when I was 15, when I started running. And it was from the Juice Man. Remember Jay Cordage with the big eyebrows?
Right.
And I used to go through those juicers one a year because I would use it so much.
Wow.
That I eventually now I use the Super Angel, this all stainless steel dual auger. It's the most important appliance in my kitchen.
Yeah.
It's my go-to thing every day. I'm dumping tons of fresh vegetables raw to make my fresh juices. But getting to your question, what the living food is food that's still alive and growing at the time I'm consuming it, like sprouts, like grasses, wheatgrasses, like raw living spirulina. It's still alive. You look at it under a microscope and you see the cells still moving around. Even a month sitting in the jar, we still are able to find some living cells.
Okay. And so the result of just going on that completely as a 16-year-old, which, by the way, is really unusual to look at food that way at that age.
Yes.
And so you must have experienced a change in your physical body at that point, I would imagine.
The energy. I mean, I've never been I've never been sick in my life. I've never touched a drug. I stay away from all of that side of the sick care industry. I'm more about the health industry. And we have an immune system that needs to be supported. And we are living creatures. We require living foods. All life on this planet, all creatures on this planet eat living foods, except humans.
Yeah.
And the animals that we have domesticated as pets or in zoos. Every other species eats raw, live food only. And we don't see hospitals for deer. We don't see hospitals for the sick animals in the wild in Africa. But humans, are getting it wrong over and over.
Yeah, and it's not like the animals are lying around sick waiting for a hospital to open. They actually don't usually need them.
Exactly. Right.
So,
Yeah,
and so
I would like to say that instinct is way more powerful than knowledge.
yeah, it is a more direct form of knowledge in a way, and I know that modern science really puts it down and says, oh, these dumb animals, all they have is instinct, but we know how to do, advanced calculations, and that's why we made the world so great,
Right.
But, how did you encounter spirulina the first time?
So here in Vero Beach, we have a Florida Institute of Technology marine laboratory right on the beach. And it used to be the old tracking station for NASA. It's about 30 miles south of Cape Canaveral as the crow flies. And it said I was in the right place at the right time, met the director of the institute. We got to talking. They were doing an experimental project growing some algae from Switzerland, a unique strain of algae where the cows in Switzerland were perfectly healthy. They couldn't figure out why they didn't need any medications or hormones or anything to produce the milk that they were producing. And they decided to do some checking on the grass and the soil and the climate around there, and they couldn't find anything that uniquely different. So they put some tracking devices, and they tracked these cows that walked 3 miles to a little lake in Switzerland, and they were drinking the water every week. They would go walk this 3 miles round trip in the middle of the night.
Wow.
We decided to go test that water and found out there was a unique strain of algae in there that they sent to Arizona State University, did some testing, found out that there was very unique phytonutrients that were supporting the gut bacteria in the cows, and they allowed us a grant project to try to reproduce that algae in the United States in a self-contained environment like this, like you see behind me.
Yeah.
And it just, after a couple of years, it was a long struggle. It didn't work. Whatever is in Switzerland created that environment perfectly, and we couldn't produce it. And during this time, we were growing spirulina. So it just really was my lifestyle. I go to a local farm, organic farm, and get all my local produce. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, I'm picking it myself. And we got to talking, and one thing led to another, and my wife and I are Hippocrates health educators from Hippocrates Health Institute in West Palm.
Yeah.
Very passionate about sharing our knowledge and what our lifestyle, and we said, we will put this together and help get it out to everybody. And that's what we started about 6 years ago. First couple of years we were doing frozen cubes, and that was a little bit of a struggle. And then we switched over. Everybody wanted it fresh. That was coming to the farm or facility and actually picking it up. So we decided that we were eating it fresh all the day, every day. People came to pick up their frozen, and they said, "Wait a minute, I want that fresh. I don't. Is it okay if I buy the fresh and not the frozen?"
But you could only serve the people in the immediate area that way, right? I mean, you can't.
Yes, correct. Yes, most of the frozen cubes we were selling and shipping out were direct to commercial establishments, juice bars, cafes, restaurants, markets, clinics. Not any to the general public.
Okay. And so most of the public who gets spirulina is getting dry powder. And did you really look into how that's made? Do you know more about that too?
Yeah, so the fresh culture has a shelf life stability to stay whole for about 2 weeks, the way that we do it. Mm-hmm. The way that most farms grow their spirulina, once it's removed out of its natural environment, the pond, the water, it will stay fresh or whole or alive for about 3 days. We have developed systems that we spent 4 years figuring this out in order to expand that time that the cells stay whole and fresh in a refrigerator. So what they do they know these big commercial farms. Most of the spirulina is grown in China and Taiwan and India,
Right.
where there's no way that if they decided to go fresh, they would have any methodology or logistical plan to keep it fresh and get it to the United States and get it to the consumer. So they have to make it into a powder, which basically runs it through a spray dry machine, 200 degrees Celsius for about 3 minutes. That incinerates.
200 Celsius is really hot.
That's very high.
I mean, just for people that aren't familiar with anything but Fahrenheit, that's twice boiling, right?
That's around 500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
If I do the calculation right.
Okay. Yeah, so, boy, and people are promoting that product as live food, basically, a lot of them.
It's not even close to raw food. Raw food, we talk about raw food is anything under 114 to 116 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
It's basically a mineral ash that's left over. So you think of the powder would be the log that you would put into a fire pit. And then if you sit there long enough and you watch the fire, at the end of your evening, you have all this ash that you scoop up and throw away. That's what's left over. That would be the powdered spirulina. There's not a whole lot left to it, but minerals. Most of the phycocyanin is pre-extracted because that's the valuable phytonutrient.
That's the part that looks blue-green, right?
That's the blue part of it. So we have a blue-green algae. The green is the chlorophyll, the blue is phycocyanin. That's the valuable phytonutrient that is found nowhere else on the planet except in blue-green algae. Chlorophyll we see everywhere. Everything that's green has chlorophyll. The grasses, the salads, the cucumbers, the celery, that's all chlorophyll. We get an abundant amount of chlorophyll if we eat the way we're supposed to.
And are there other blue-green algae besides spirulina? Is that just one of many?
It's one of many. There are about 2,500 species.
Okay.
Spirulina is the only one that is FDA approved, GRAS certified, and that's only for spirulina grown in the United States. If it's not grown in the United States, the FDA does not give it that GRAS certification.
So what does that mean for producers in India, for example, that are some of the big ones, and they're selling into the U.S. all the time? How do they do that?
Well, most people don't know that it's not, the FDA doesn't have any way of overseeing the growing operations in other countries. So they're not going to put that GRAS, generally recognized as safe certification, primarily because there are a lot of heavy metals in powdered spirulina. You can go onto the National Institute of Health, NIH.gov, type in the word spirulina and heavy metals, and at the top, the first article you'll see is a report that has, I think, 12 to 15 of the top brands of powdered spirulina and the analysis of all of them. And you will see every one of them are very high, over the limit. Most of them are over the limit on their heavy metals. But they all have detections of heavy metals. And that's because the pollution in the air in China is very heavy. The water is very polluted. The minerals that they use are cheap. The fertilizers are very cheap. They use manure and urea as their nitrogen sources. They all contain heavy metals. And whatever's in the water, that's what the spirulina will absorb. It's like a sponge.
Well, the other thing is if they're using manure, since the advent of GMOs and certainly all the pesticides, if the animals that the manure comes from are eating poison food, then I would imagine that gets into the growing environment too.
Yes, absolutely. We do not put any manure or any urea into the ponds here. We use a soil-based nitrogen source. Nothing that we're doing here has anything related to animal products or animal usage or animal fertilizers. We wouldn't even dream of dumping manure or cow urine into the pond for a nitrogen source.
Yeah, exactly. So when you go over to the pond and you say you guys initially were eating it fresh all the time, can you give us a feeling of what it looks like and feels like in the water? Is it like people have seen a bunch of algae in a lake that they visit, or kind of a greenish color to the water, or is it thicker, or
let me kind of get up here and It's very smooth, very oily kind of feeling texture. It instantaneously makes your skin soft, which is because the spirulina has a phospholipid bilayer membrane on the outside that has the omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, and that makes it soft because there's no fiber. Like in vegetables, we have fiber structure to the vegetable, which our bodies have to break down, and that fiber is good to hydrate the colon. However, when we're dealing with a single cell, an algae that we can touch the membrane. I'm touching thousands and thousands of membranes of cells by putting my finger in the water, and the water pH is 10.3 to 10.5 pH. We keep it in that range.
Okay.
So that high alkaline water is also making it very, very soft, and it's better than a spa.
So do you? Yeah, I guess that brings up the thing. If it wasn't for food, you could soak in it, soak your body in it, right?
Oh, we sometimes do that when we dump this. We put it in some big tanks, and we all just get in it.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
That must be an unusual experience, huh?
It's amazing. Yeah,
we try to get it in your hair and all over your head. And
oh, yes, everywhere.
Wow. So that brings up other uses besides just eating it, and you can't really do that with cooked powder.
No, not at all.
When you're going to harvest that, you basically screen it out. Is that how you do it?
So it's a 3-step process. Most of it is done by hand. We will bring it out, and then we allow a separation to occur from the water and the algae. So we have to have the water go out, and we have to catch the algae.
Okay.
And once that happens, the next stage would be to rinse it, because the growing water here, we want to make sure that that's not on the product.
Okay.
The growing water. It's not hard. I mean, you could drink this water easily, but it does have a little bit of a texture, a flavor to it that we don't want on the final product.
Right.
Like your vegetables, we're rinsing the spirulina.
Yeah. So you take it out in a fine net of some kind, basically, right?
Yes.
And let the water drain out of that.
Yes, and that would drain out the growth water, and then the second stage would be to rinse it.
Okay.
And then we have to remove the rinse water. So there's a two-step process.
You let the rinse water drain out through the net, basically.
Yes, we actually have some systems that remove the rinse water.
Suction?
A little bit of suction, very gentle. And then the next phase would be to chill it.
Okay.
Put it in refrigerators. It'll come out. This is 92 degrees, the water temperature.
Okay.
So you need to bring it from 92 down to 38. And that's overnight. We don't want to do it quick. We need to do it slowly.
Yeah.
So it takes about 12 to 14 hours to chill it down to 38. And then we pack it when it's ready to go. You definitely notice it as this beautiful thick cream cheese kind of a texture.
Right.
Very smooth, gourmet, like a caviar, vegan caviar. We have a jar here. It was just packed, and this is what it looks like on the inside.
Yeah, it's obviously a gel, semi-solid. Otherwise, it would fall out.
Right. I can turn it upside down, and it doesn't fall out.
Yeah. Wow.
So it has a creamy texture to it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Totally different than any spirulina I've ever seen.
There's about 35 billion living cells in one jar.
Wow. So, and just before I ask you about the effects on the body of eating that, how does that compare to the other basically cooked dry powder that people use, alternatives to spirulina, which is chlorella? What's the difference between those two?
So, like I said, the spirulina is a blue-green algae the way that most people know it as one.
Okay.
It's a phospholipid bilayer membrane, so it has 2 layers in the membrane. Chlorella has 3 layers. a tri-layer. Two of the layers are soft, very easily digestible, but the third layer is not. It's hard like an eggshell, and it must be cracked open. It is a real green algae only. It is not blue-green algae.
Yeah.
Chlorella has very high amounts of chlorophyll, which is why people are using it, because it's a very good detoxifier and it cleans the blood.
Okay.
People that are dealing with heavy metals, if you have a good source of chlorella, you can draw heavy metals out of your body. You can detoxify your body very well with chlorella.
But you're talking about using the cooked powder to do that.
It's the only way you can get chlorella is processed. They either use pressure or they use heat or both. Pressure will generate heat, and you also have a time from when they make it until the time the consumer consumes it, and that can be months, it could be years. It goes into a package, it goes into a box, it goes into a shelf, it goes in a warehouse, it goes onto a ship, comes over, and so it goes into another warehouse, goes to a store, goes to a customer.
It stays fresh forever, basically.
It's fresh forever, right?
So it has benefits, but it doesn't have the same life force in it.
No, it's dead. There's no life force at all. There's no whole cells. There's no enzyme activity at all. Enzymes are completely destroyed through these processes.
Okay.
So, and that's where we're getting this big separation between raw living foods versus the cooked dead powders.
Yeah. So the fresh spirulina is a big breakthrough, basically, compared to that.
It's huge. It's night and day. I almost was looking for another word to call it besides calling it spirulina, but I would really distance myself from the. It's a struggle right now just to educate people on the way it is right now, but to give it another name, it would be more difficult.
Yeah, because nobody would recognize what it is at all, so kind of have to do it that way. And when you eat that, what are some of the things that it does to your body?
So the first thing, powders have about 2 to 3% bioavailability. And one thing we noticed a few months ago is that we had some customers call us and say, I've been eating powdered spirulina for years.
Yeah.
And I always notice that green comes out of me when I'm in the bathroom.
Right.
And they said the first time they ate our spirulina, they noticed no green in the toilet.
So in other words, what's wrong with it, right?
Well, that says that the live spirulina is being absorbed into the body and not excreted out. You're getting 100% bioavailability or absorbability of it. Because there is no cellulose, because there is no fiber, because it's a living food. The powdered spirulina is about 2 to 3% water content.
Yeah.
So that determines the bioavailability of it, because we don't have any solid food in our blood. We only have liquid in our blood. If you eat a handful of nuts, you're not going to have pieces of almonds in your blood. You're going to have the nutrients that were extracted from those almonds in liquid form traveling through your blood.
That's going to depend on your stomach acid a lot, right?
That's going to depend on a lot of factors, but primarily your whole digestive system, how healthy it is, the ability for your enzymes to break that down, the bacteria to break it down, and it's not going to be quick because it's dense.
Yeah.
Where these cells of the live spirulina, they're like little water balloons, and when you consume them, they instantly rupture in your stomach. They permeate through your epithelial cell lining of your stomach and go right into your blood very quickly, like 10-15 minutes. You've got the nutrients of the spirulina traveling all through your body. It's just a night and day difference from the powdered to the fresh.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, because I am eating your sample jar, and that's exactly how it is. There's no comparison, basically. And I was already at the point where I couldn't use the powder, because I really try to stay in communication with my body all the time, and it was just saying really clearly, you can't eat this anymore.
Right.
But I didn't know there was something else. So,
and people would think, just go back to common sense or instinct. Would you rather have a powdered strawberry or a real strawberry?
depends if you have to have it stay fresh forever, right?
Right. If you're traveling to the moon, you probably need it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not sure what happens to strawberries in space, but yeah, that might be the best application.
Right.
Because we were shown as kids a long time ago that the ultimate food that science would produce for us that would solve all the world problems is a single pill of powdered synthetic material that would replace regular food. And I guess they haven't quite succeeded at that yet.
Right. We see the state of health of this country and the world and the Western societies. It's not pretty.
No, it's exactly according to plan, but it's not so good for the people who are victims of it. That's
right.
An understatement. So, how did you figure out how to make the system and the environment to grow it the right way without having problems with that?
It was a lot of trial and error to get to this point. This is 10,000 gallons of water that you see behind me. It's 150 feet long, it's 20 feet wide, and the water is about a foot deep.
Okay.
The systems that we were using at the marine laboratory were about a little less than half this size. And it was learning steps over and over, and it was big steps up, a couple steps back, big steps up. It was many nights on the floor crying, trying to figure out how to get to the next phase. There's no textbook that says this is how you create a raw living spirulina business.
Yeah. Well, there are YouTube videos that say how to do it in a 10-gallon tank.
Yes, and you will get about a teaspoon every 3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of that, the time and the effort and it's gonna be. It may be a fun hobby, but you're not going to get very much unless you have at least 1,000 gallons.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
We're lucky. We're here in Florida. We're here in Vero Beach, Florida. The weather is perfect. We have amazing water here. We ended up the marine laboratory closed down 3 years ago. The president passed away. The new president came in and said, we don't want to keeping this laboratory. It's right on the beach. It got hit by 2 hurricanes. They wanted to close it down. So we were forced to either quit or go find our own farm.
Were you working as part of that project at that point?
Yes.
I see. Okay. That's interesting. So you basically kind of duplicated as a beginning what you had been working on at the lab on your own place.
Yes, and we actually, right after one of the hurricanes hit, we were able to take some of the components and use those to build the first raceway system here. And that was our template that we used to make it perfect, fine-tune get all the kinks worked out, figure things out. We have 2 biologists that are on staff that do most of the growing with the nutrients and the monitoring and the growing the starter culture. And it has definitely changed over the years. This is our 5th year. And even today, as weather changes, as the climate changes, the spirulina started this planet. It started growing in 3.5 billion years ago, and when there was basically no oxygen on this planet. 1% to 2% oxygen back then, no life at all, and all the oceans were freshwater. So,
they were freshwater because they were so new, you mean?
Well, because the salts that created the oceans were in the land, and the land hadn't been. There was no grass or trees or roots to loosen up the soil enough to allow the salts to go into the water.
Yeah.
Spirulina is mostly a freshwater. It's a brackish algae. It doesn't come from the ocean, even though it is possible if the environment is perfect. Right now, it grows in 2 places on the planet naturally. It's Lake Chad in Africa and cocoa in Mexico, near Mexico City. There are a couple little pockets here and there, but those are the two primary places it still grows naturally. The Kamembu people that live around Lake Chad in Africa have been harvesting it fresh out of Lake Chad for over 10,000 years. And they are beautiful, vibrant, healthy-looking people.
What's the rest of their diet, do you know?
They millet and spirulina. So they scoop it out. They actually walk in Lake Chad. They scoop it out with cloth, and then they lay it on these rocks, and they let it dry out in the sun, and they mix it in with millet, and they make these crackers. It's called a dihe cracker. And
wow.
They've been just, amazing people to see in Africa thriving.
Are those raw crackers or cooked crackers?
No, they're just laid on the sun, sun-dried.
Sun-dried, okay, interesting. Why do you think it's not in more places? Is it because it only has two places where it doesn't get out-competed by other things?
That could be one of the reasons. It grows in high alkaline water, which is key. It's a mono growing algae where it won't grow with anything else. It wants to only grow with spirulina. So there's only spirulina in here.
So that means when it comes into a new place, it won't infiltrate a new environment if there's anything else there.
No, the spirulina cell itself doesn't have any defense mechanism. So that's some people may have heard of microcystin toxins that are in algae and some other algae, and they have we've seen one or two tests, over thousands and thousands and thousands that showed a residual amount of a microcystin toxin, and that was from another algae that got into the ponds that were growing before it got up to the 10.3 or 10.5 pH where it becomes only spirulina.
So everything else dies at 10.3?
No other algae will survive this.
That's interesting.
But when you start, water is 8.3 pH that comes out of the ground here on our pond. It's a spring. It's 600 feet deep. And it's infused with ocean water.
It's a 600-foot deep spring.
Yes.
What does that mean? I mean, usually you don't see how deep a spring goes.
It's part of the lowest aquifer in Florida. There's 3 of them in Florida. We have the top aquifer that's pretty shallow, and then we have a middle one, and then we have the deep one.
Held separate by rock layers, I would imagine, right?
It's probably separated by rock layers. I would imagine that there's, I'm not sure what the sediment, is on that trip down 600 feet.
Yeah.
But it comes out of the ground very, very powerfully.
So if you drill down to the bottom aquifer, it's pressurized, and it comes up to the top and overflows.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a flowing artesian well situation.
Yes.
Okay.
And 8.3 pH. So we have to bring it up to 10.2 before we can have the spirulina growing in there safely.
Okay, so you raise the pH first, and then you culture it with the algae after that?
Yes, we inoculate from another system. This is we have 4 systems, so this will be the biggest and the last one, and it's staging. So we start small, and then you go to the next one, and you take this, and you go to the next one, you take this, and go to the next one. And you
mean you have to move it from one to the next?
Yeah, so it's a 10 times every step. So we will take one single cell under the microscope, the cell that looks perfect, and we will use that cell to grow a new culture. We will start off with a little vial in the lab and with a liter. And then that will go to 10 liters, and that 10 liters will go to 100 liters, and then we'll go up to 250 gallons, and then 2,500 gallons, and then 25,000 gallons. It's times 10 every time. So we have to have 10% to inoculate.
Okay, so does that mean that your 4 ponds with the covering over them are different sizes?
Yes.
You got a small one, and then they step up to the full-size one gradually.
We have two small ones, and then we have a middle one, and we have 2 large. This is a large.
So you have some kind of a pumping system that's got to empty the whole previous one into the bigger one.
Correct.
Right. Wow. So you can't just grow it from start to finish in one environment.
No. It will never make it. If this was all fresh water, every 4 months we empty this out completely. We completely scrub and clean this entire inside of the system, and then we refill it up with fresh, clean spring water. And then we add all the nutrients. We get the pH up right. We get it perfect, which takes a few weeks, and then we bring over some the culture from the one next door.
So is it a time consideration why you couldn't clean it up, raise the pH, make the environment good, and then start it from scratch in the big one? What would happen?
Well, once the system is everything is perfect, then you're able to. We got to get the temperature up. We got to get the nutrients all mixed up perfectly. We got to get the pH right. We have to get the carbon, the nitrogen. Everything has to be perfect before we move over. If we move some over and everything isn't perfect, it will crash, and all the algae will die and it will sink to the bottom.
Okay, and
we'll have to start all over again.
And the big one is how many gallons?
10,000.
Okay, so you've got to bring in a large amount to
1,000 gallons.
How much? Sorry.
1,000 gallons.
1,000 gallons, which is an amount in the smaller environment.
No, we can take 1,000 gallons out of our 10,000 gallon next door.
I got it. Okay.
We wouldn't completely empty it.
And then that cleaning and scrubbing job is a big job, I would imagine.
Big job. It takes about 3 days, about 4 guys.
You don't just send a robot in there to do it.
No. Everything is perfectly clean, like it's brand new, and we start off fresh again. And this is one of the ways that separates us from anybody else growing spirulina on this level, because we're doing it fresh. The FDA and USDA wants to make sure that the food that we're giving to people alive and fresh and raw like this is completely clean and super pure, and just as well as we want this also. Yeah. But when a food is made into a powder, if there's anything that's bad or harmful in that original whatever is destroyed, the good is destroyed and the bad is destroyed through the process. So they don't care, because there's nothing's going to hurt you. Nothing's going to help you. Nothing's going to hurt you. Right.
Well, except for, it hurts you in other ways, but it's not pathogenic in the usual sense.
Correct. From a safety standpoint.
Yeah. So what kind of testing do you guys have to submit to from those agencies?
So our first one was a full microbiological test. That was through Kappa Labs. That's the USDA FDA laboratory in Miami.
Okay.
They did a full 61-day test with 12 pounds. So we sent them 12 jars, and they kept them on the refrigerator, and every week they took 1 jar out, 1 pound, and they did a full analysis of it.
Okay.
And the second week they did a full analysis, and those laboratory tests are posted on our website. If anybody wants to look at that test, they can see those results. It actually, from a microbiological safety point, it was safer at 61 days than it was on day 1.
So they tested a sample from each jar how often? Once a week?
Once a week for 61 days. And at 61 days, they gave us a report. You're 100% completely safe for food consumption. And we knew that. We've been eating it fresh and raw like this for 4 years before we.
Well, yeah, but what they were testing is if somebody didn't open it for 2 months and then tried it, then it would still be fine.
It would still be safe, yes.
Yeah. Wow. How interesting. Okay. So, and then you
ferment.
What? Say that again.
Vegetables ferment.
Yeah.
And meat rots.
Yeah.
So you take a piece of meat and you put it out on your counter and you let it sit there for a few days.
Yeah.
And you eat it, you will get sick.
It's not a good idea.
By eating it raw, fresh. But the point here is that a vegetable is the the cellulose is going to start breaking down in plants and vegetables into like sauerkraut or a kimchi, or coconut turns into yogurt, or
right.
It's this nature's way of breaking.
And some of them generate alcohol, of course, too.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, but spirulina is different. The process.
Spirulina doesn't have the fiber. It doesn't have the cellulose. So It's not really going to convert into that sauerkraut kimchi kind of a texture. It's going to ferment, oxidize, fermentation. If the jar is opened and then you scoop some out and then you put the jar back on, every time you do that, you're allowing oxygen in. So algae is the same as trees. It's a carbon dioxide oxygen exchange. It's taking carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. So the oxygen inside this greenhouse is about 2% higher than it is outside.
Wow, how interesting.
Algae produces so much oxygen in here.
Wow. Interesting. Must give you the idea of what it would be like to live in there, right? All the time.
Yeah. It's just put a bed right here, and this would be heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially listening to the water turning, and absolutely.
So from there, after you concentrate it, you needed to put together a bottling facility, I guess, right?
Yes, for health department regulations in the United States and Florida, where we are, we had to have the standard food kitchen. Which we built a brand new one. So it's when they came to do our final walkthrough, they said they'd never seen a kitchen this pristine and clean.
Wow.
It's all based on raw food and fresh food. We don't have no ovens. There's no stoves. There's no boilers or anything to make cooked food. No exhaust fans. It's just a very sanitary and clean, very beautiful environment to be in.
Wow.
Also.
So how many people are working there to maintain that operation and keep it going? And
we have 6 people full time, and then we have a couple that in and out. A lot of it is maintaining. As we remove a harvest, we have to know exactly how much came out in pounds, so we can add those nutrients back.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that the new growth can continue.
Right.
So everything has to be weighed and monitored and perfected in that sense. Some of the systems our new biologist has incorporated here is to add sensors to the water so that it sends it remotely to his phone, and he can make some immediate calculations and adjustments if there's an alarm that goes off that say the carbon dropped, the iron, the temperature dropped, the pH dropped, the nitrogen dropped,
right?
Whatever, iron drops a little bit too low. It's always right there on at 2:00 in the morning. An alarm could go off, and I'll make got to go add some more iron or something.
Now, when you say that you have to weigh the spirulina to tell how much nutrients to replace in the water, that's not an exact ratio, right? Because some of the mass and weight of the spirulina comes out of the air. It's not all solid mineral nutrients. Like when you have a tree growing in the ground doesn't decrease in weight by the weight of the tree. So that must be an interesting calculation.
Well, we would say that this would be a pound. This is a 1 pound jar.
Yeah,
so
but
we harvest and we pull out 100 of these jars.
Yeah.
And we add the ratio of nutrients for the 100 pounds.
But that's not necessarily 100 pounds of nutrients, right?
No. Yes, it's a ratio based on a 10,000 gallon startup.
Okay, so it's
about 250 pounds growing in here right now.
Okay.
If we took it all out, it would be clear water. We'd have 250 jars. Then we'd have to add 100% of the nutrients we started from to get it back up to where it was.
Yeah, so it's a fraction of 250 tells you how much of the amount of original nutrients that it took to replace.
Correct.
Okay. And how do people find out about you? Was it a very gradual start for the whole thing, or did you just get discovered quickly, or how did that go?
Well, because my wife and I are Hippocrates health educators, we have a big group of people that are at Hippocrates every week. About 100 people check in every week there.
Yeah.
And I've been going there for 8 years. My wife came over from Romania, and she was in the health educator program, which is where we met. And we became very close with a lot of the people there, the nurse, the doctor, the psychotherapist and doctors, Brian Clements and Anna Marie, and everybody at Hippocrates is a place that we love, and we see different people every week that we go there. And that started, Hippocrates is all about living food, and algae is at the top of that pyramid.
So do they use some of your algae in the
They use our spirulina, yes. Many of the guests that go to Hippocrates use our spirulina, and the nurse, the doctors are giving it to them as part of their protocol of what they need to take.
Okay, wow, that's great.
And then we started to do some shows. Hippocrates does a Raw Fest show every year, 3,000 to 5,000 people that come there. So we had a booth, and we did free samples. We have done 5 of those shows. We travel around the world. We just came back from Europe in last August. We did some classes and lectures over there. We have about an hour presentation with a keynote. And so we'll educate a group of people that come to a retreat. And then we did a little bit of advertising, but not a whole lot. It's mostly word of mouth. Our customers love it, and they share it with their friends and their family. And right now we have over 100 affiliates that are sharing and spreading the message to their friends. And a lot of those affiliates get their spirulina for free, because they're sharing so much of it.
So if some of those customers are in Europe from your trip overseas, how do you get it there and keep it fresh?
We can ship it to Europe. We ship it in the same, this is our box that we ship in.
Okay.
A custom cooler box. You see we have a blue insulation inside, and this is a 100% compostable, 100% recyclable little custom cooler package that we built.
Wow.
We have a little ice brick in there, and then the jars fit inside, and this keeps it cold for about 3 days. Easily in the winter, 3 days, and easily 2 days in the summertime. But it grows in, like I said, it grows in 95-degree water. So even if the temperature did go up a little bit, it just would speed up the metabolism of the cells.
It's not going to hurt it
or harm it, as long as you can get it cold again. The reason why we put things in the refrigerator is to slow down the breakdown of the metabolism of something that's alive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same kind of a process. We don't want it 100 degrees for an hour. That's not that wouldn't be good, but because it's trapped inside the jar and it can't breathe.
Right. So you said it's compostable, but it looks like blue plastic on that thing. What?
This is it's a plant-based material, like the cups. You see the green, eco-friendly green cups that it looks like plastic, but it's not. Yeah. This is the same material.
So if that went into a landfill, it would just decompose.
Just decompose like within a month. The inside, and this would break down in a few months. The inside is rock wool. It's a cushiony, it looks very natural.
Okay.
And yeah, no problem. So we actually have a recycling program if somebody wants to save these because 70% of our shipments go to subscribers. Auto ship program. People get it every week or every 2 weeks, 2 jars, 3 jars, whatever they want.
Right.
And then they get a lot of these boxes, so they're piling up. We say, take the blue insulation out, take the ice bricks out, put them in a box, and once that box is full, we'll send you a label. You send it back to us, and we can clean them and reuse them.
But in reality, if they just throw it away and it goes in a landfill, that's fine.
That's fine. I mean, we didn't even think about the recycling program because people started asking us if we could.
Yeah.
Back.
And what are the ice things made out of?
It's just a non-toxic gel. It's the same substance that all the ice bricks are made from. The gel substance. The outside is plastic, but you could cut it if you're concerned, and throw
separate it.
You separate it, but it's 95% going to disappear in a landfill within.
Yeah. So the only thing that's not compostable is the plastic around the ice bricks, right?
Yes, and the jars, which are made of glass.
Yeah, but those are easily recyclable too.
Those are easily recyclable, yes. And the lid is a metal lid.
Right.
But it has a steel underneath, which is we didn't want any metal touching anything. There's a nice steel.
Yeah.
Plastisol seal that seals on the top, so we don't have any metal touching anything.
Okay, and you said you were really interested in athletic things.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you've got feedback from people who are involved in athletics who are using the spirulina.
Yeah, yes, we have a top athlete that runs 100-mile marathons. His name is Ken Watts, and he swears by this. He'll run 5 miles, and he'll have his drink on the back. He'll mix it in with coconut water.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives in Michigan, and we ship him coconuts. So when he has a race, he can mix it in with the coconut water. And that's the way we love it. Fresh coconut water is abundant in Florida. It's everywhere on the trees. So we climb up the trees and get the coconuts, and we open them and we dump it into a glass, and we take the spirulina and put it in and mix it up, and it's like a blood transfusion, because the coconut water is almost identical to our blood. But the only thing missing is the iron. And there's very high iron in the spirulina. So when you mix the two together, you have basically a blood transfusion. They used to use water in the wartime when soldiers were injured and they didn't have blood.
Yeah.
They would give them IV coconut water, save their life.
Wow, interesting. So are you saying that you send out coconuts as part of your actual business, or just for that one person?
Just for the special people that ask us. We try not to get into too much of that. We're so focused on the spirulina. But,
yeah, because that would be a big other business.
Yeah, if somebody wants. And we do have a very good friend that has a large coconut farm in Davie, Florida, and he ships all over the country.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it'd be good for people to know about that too, right?
Yes, it's FloridaCoconuts.com, FloridaCoconuts.net. I think it's FloridaCoconuts.com. And the owner's name is Larry. He's an awesome guy. He has about 100 acres of all coconut trees.
Okay.
And he will cut them down and put them in a box and ship them to you.
Wow, neat. Are those the kind of coconuts that have the rough brown hard shell on them, or the other way?
No, they're the coconuts that people think of as the brown shell.
Yeah.
Those are not naturally. No coconut grows like that on a tree.
Really?
No, they always have the husk on the outside. That's the inside of the core. So they'll remove the outside fibrous part, the green part. They'll take that off, and on the inside is the brown hairy core.
What you see in most grocery stores.
You also see the Thai coconuts that are white, and that would be another step, which would be stripping all of that brown off, soaking it into a bleach solution with formaldehyde, and then because it has to be preserved.
That's how they make what they call young coconuts?
Yeah, the white Thai coconuts you see.
The white ones, yeah.
With plastic wrapped around. Yeah, those are
after soaking in chemicals.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Wow.
There's no way that we take a coconut off a tree and 7 days later it's all rotted.
Oh.
It's all it's all brown and moldy and ready to it's ready to sprout and make another one. They won't last. And if you open a coconut and you take the water out, that water will only stay good for about a day. So the only way you can have coconut water in the grocery store is to pasteurize it. They either pressure pasteurize it, which is the harmless harvest coconut water, or they pasteurize it with heat, just like they do with all the other stuff that's in a bottle. Right. They have to kill the enzymes, or it will die and go bad. So they make it go bad first, so it won't go bad naturally.
Okay, so are you saying there's 3 different kinds of coconuts that you see in the store then? 3 different stages?
Well, you could see a fresh coconut, a fresh, like right off the tree. You see them around.
What does that look like? I don't know if I've ever seen one.
And I don't have one here, but they're good sized coconuts.
Okay.
They're green.
Okay.
So it takes 7 months for 1 drop of water to go from the ground up into the tree, into the coconut. It takes about 3 or 4 months, depending on the humidity, to fill up with water. Then you've got 95% water and 5% jelly meat on the inside. Over the next 7, 8, 9, 10 months, it will start converting that water, that coconut water, into the meat, which is the white on the inside of the shell.
Okay.
The way that we see shaved coconut, or if you were to take and scoop all the meat out and mix it with the water in a blender, you would have coconut milk.
Yeah.
That's real coconut milk. And if anybody's ever had it, you will never buy any fake coconut milk in a store in a can or a box or any of that stuff.
So to make that from a coconut with the brown shell, which is what most of them in the store look like, you'd have to crack open the shell and then take out the meat and take out the water and put them in a high-speed blender. And that would be
coconut milk. We don't use the meat very often because it's 100% saturated fat. It's a plant-based fat. It's okay once in a while. We love to make coconut yogurt. You mix the water and the meat together. You put a little probiotic in there, and you let it sit on the counter for 5 hours. Put it in the refrigerator, and the next day you've got the most incredible coconut yogurt you'll ever have in your life. But once in a while, we'll do that. Maybe once a month, at the most for a treat. But I go through 100 coconuts a week, drinking the water out of them. Fresh coconuts off the tree.
Not the ones with the brown.
Oh, real ones, the green ones, the big green ones.
Yeah.
I get them off the tree, and I open them up in 2 seconds and pour out the water into a big glass, and I add the spirulina.
Right.
I'm doing 10 a day.
Right. So but basically everybody has to move to Florida to do that, or somewhere like that,
or have them shipped to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So if somebody wants to make orders, they just do it through your website?
For the spirulina, it's rawlivingspirulina.com is our website.
Okay, and you've got information on it there too, I would imagine, right?
Lots of information. We have all the research we do. We add into the research area. We have a good FAQ support center. Any question you can think of, is most likely it's there. We have a blog where we write articles all the time about the most current research, and this research we get from the National Institute of Health.
Uh-huh.
We have a nutritional profile page with all the nutrients, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, enzymes, omegas, the antioxidants, everything that our body needs and requires on a daily basis is in the spirulina except vitamin D.
Huh.
And vitamin D we get from the sun.
Right. Right. At least you're supposed to. I mean, most people obviously aren't out in the sun anymore, and they wear too many clothes, right, to really take advantage of that.
That's right, and you really need to be in the southern part of the United States to get adequate amount of sun, because the farther north you go, the rays hit on an angle.
Yeah.
You're not getting the rays, but you want to be as direct as possible for the A and the B. And the sun is life. We're not designed to live inside under fake lights and
right.
Computer.
So if people are living in extreme latitudes, either in the north or in the south too, there's different forms of vitamin D, and some are better than others, I imagine, right?
Yes, definitely get your blood tested, find out what your vitamin D levels are. If they're not in the 50 to 60 range, I would start taking a vitamin D supplement, or definitely get outside in the sun. Go take a trip down south somewhere. The other nutrient is B12. B12 is in the spirulina on a laboratory test. It shows very high, but it's not methylcobalamin, so it's not absorbed. They call it a pseudo B12 in allergies. It's not usable. It actually will block the receptors because the body thinks it's B12, But then once it gets to the receptor, it says, no, that's not B12, and it blocks it. It looks almost identical. So don't ever rely on B12 or algae for your B12.
Well, so are you saying that if you're eating algae, that if you have some other real B12, it won't get to the cells?
That's a very good question. What you want to do is separate the algae that you would take in the morning first thing on an empty stomach, so you'll get maximum bioavailability or maximum absorption.
Yeah.
And take your supplement B12 at night.
Oh, that's
so that
interesting.
the receptors have time during the day to open back up again and receive the supplement B12.
So
And that should be methylcobalamin. It should be red liquid. Take it under your tongue. Let it sit there for 10 minutes.
So what do you think that is, like 8 or 10 hours that it has to be separated?
Maybe not even that. I mean, I haven't seen the exact, study that shows that those receptors clearing off. But I've seen some animations. I've watched some good documentaries that show that it does go off pretty quickly. I mean, it could be a matter of hours.
Yeah.
But I would, if you there's probably not this perfect ratio of taking supplements and taking whole foods every day. We weren't designed to do that. We were designed to be out in nature, and when we're out in nature barefoot and getting our hands dirty in the soil and not washing our food in chlorinated water, we're getting B12 we need. I mean, we think about it. Where did we get our drinking water 1,000 years ago? Where would people get their water? They would get it from springs, from rivers, from creeks, from ponds, from lakes, and all of that water had algae in it.
And not too much of it is chlorinated either.
Now it's all chlorinated, and the chlorine kills B12.
So if you're in a place like Chad, near that lake where it grows, and those people eat it with millet, and they're eating it throughout the day, I would imagine, does that make them all B12 deficient? Well,
every picture I've seen, they're barefoot. I mean, they're getting their hands dirty. They're all like in the soil. You don't see those people with shoes and
But what that means is it's not totally blocking the receptors, or they'd all have really bad B12 deficiency.
Well, I'm sure they're not living on the spirulina 100%.
Okay, that too, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're eating other foods and vegetables and other things. You would get sufficient B12. I mean, all organic gardeners have sufficient B12 just by the nature of their job. They're out there in the soil, and it's from soil. It's a bacteria based.
Right. They're not in a sterile environment.
Right, and this is water, so this water isn't soil-based, so it's not producing that methylcobalamin.
Right. No, I wasn't saying that in Chad the spirulina is producing the B12. I was just saying it's not blocking the B12 from anything else they're eating totally, because they're in good shape, right? And they're not maybe carefully separating the spirulina from all their other food by different ends of the day. It just brings up a question.
Yeah.
Because if they're not carefully separating it out and they're still fine, maybe it's not blocking it completely.
That's right. I mean, there's so many questions to keep asking the universe and the world. That, we always are looking for another piece of information and some more knowledge. And hey, to go to Lake Chad and study those people and take blood samples and see exactly what they're doing and how the spirulina consumption every day is affecting all their nutrients. I would love to see some intracellular blood testing of from SpectraCell. People there.
Yeah. Okay. And do you want to just mention about the other question that I asked you? Since the spirulina grows in warm water, when you get it, why would it be bad to try to keep it fresh by bringing the temperature close to what it grows in?
Well, when the spirulina or anything that's alive, if we want to keep it out of its natural environment longer, we have to slow down the metabolism. And by making it cold, we do that. So we actually put it to sleep, in a sense, by keeping it cold.
Right.
as it warms, it starts to wake up, and the respiration, everything starts moving like it's not, and it would start to. It's always trying to do an exchange and taking in the carbon dioxide and getting rid of giving out oxygen.
Right.
If trapped in a jar, it doesn't have any room to push out the oxygen, and it only has a certain amount of the carbon dioxide it could suck in. Open the jar and let some of that oxygen in, let some of the exchange happen. Then you're stimulating that life to continue, and we don't want it to continue in that sense. Spirulina cells they grow by division. They just grow a certain length and then they divide, and we don't want cell division to happen. We want to keep 35 billion living whole cells in the jar until it reaches your mouth and your body.
Right. So you could keep it good if it was in a totally its own natural environment back in the pond. But once it's in the jar, you got to keep it the suspended animation thing of the cold temperature. Right?
It's more putting it to sleep. Suspended animation would be freezing it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
That would be almost at zero. Gas exchange.
Yeah.
It would totally just, it doesn't. We've been able to freeze it and bring it back to life. Not 100% of the cells, but we have we froze it, thawed it, looked under the microscope, found some cells that were moving around, and we're able to use those to grow another culture.
Okay, so you actually put that into application for customers by saying, if you buy a jar and you want to keep it longer, you can freeze the part you don't eat soon, right? Correct.
We recommend, so on the jar we have 2 dates, and this is truly 100% fresh.
Okay.
These are living cells. These are truly alive. We have 2 dates on here. First date is the date of harvest, and this is a jar that we just harvested yesterday. And then we also have the next date underneath, which is the use by date. And this is 2 weeks from the date of harvest. This is based on our knowledge that we have learned over the time doing this, that during a year, we have sometimes in the year that the cells are stronger, thicker cell membranes, which would allow them to stay stronger longer in the jar. And then other times of the year, in the summertime, the cell wall is a little thinner. So sometime of the year we would have it would be a week, and then the cells would start rupturing. Think of them as little water balloons. And in the extreme, we've had a jar, put it in the refrigerator and a month later we open it up and it looks exactly the same as we packed it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that on that date it goes bad and you can't use it anymore. That's a recommended date, because we have a full clearance at 61 days by the USDA, FDA in the refrigerator.
Right.
But we don't really want people to go that long because the cells are collapsing and they're rupturing. And right now you see it looks very green.
Yeah.
That's because you see the chlorophyll. That's in the outside, closer to the cell membrane of these cells. The inside of that cell membrane, the inside of that little tiny water balloon cell, is blue liquid. So in about a week to 12 days, these cell membranes are going to become thinner and thinner and thinner. And then they're going to start popping. And you'll know when it becomes very thin is it turns blue. It'll go from green to blue.
Okay.
And it's not changing really. The cell membrane gets thinner so that you can see through the cells and see the blue on the inside, which is what you want to get inside your body. The magic is the phycocyanin. The magic isn't really necessarily the chlorophyll, even though the chlorophyll is an amazing phytonutrient. It's the phycocyanin that's powerful. And that's what I encourage everybody to look up is phycocyanin. It's National Institute of Health. Look up phycocyanin and cancer. And you will see page after page after page of studies that show how phycocyanin kills cancer.
So that is that PHYCO.
PHYCOCYANIN.
Okay.
Phyco means plant, cyanin means blue.
Okay. And these articles describe it as an anti-cancer substance, right?
You will see page after page after page of studies.
So if you get a jar, you could eat the first part of it fresh for, a week or something like that, and then freeze the rest? Is that how you do it?
So we have most of our customers will buy a two-pack. This is a two-pack.
Okay.
They will take one jar, put it in the refrigerator, and if it's one person, and they will use this jar for 2 weeks or 12 days.
Okay.
And then fresh, they'll use an ounce and a half every day, which is a full heaping tablespoon. First thing in the morning, empty stomach. You can eat it right off the spoon. It's delicious. There's no smell. There's hardly any taste. It's creamy gourmet. Unlike powders, you open up the bag and it smells really bad.
Yeah.
That's because it's dead. That's because it's cooked powder and you've baked in you've cooked the lipids, the fats.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they would take the other jar and put it in the freezer, but you have to put it in ice cube trays in single serving portions. We have some very cool ice cube trays on our store. They're made of a soft silicone with a lid. One tray holds one jar completely. And it's 12 cubes. Each cube is 1.3 ounces. So the 1.3 times the 12 cubes is 16 ounces. And then they would use the first jar fresh, go to the second jar, use the 12 cubes, and then in 4 weeks, they're going to have another 2-jar box arriving at their door.
And how long could you keep the frozen one good?
We recommend about 3 months at the most.
Okay, interesting. And when you eat that, is it almost as good as the fresh form? The
USDA says there's about a 5% loss in nutritional value and nutrients when you freeze a vegetable. Now, I haven't seen anything about algae nutrition freezing, but vegetables have cellulose, so they have more of a protective structure. The freezing of the spirulina is probably more. It's a minimum 5%, but it could be around 10% of a nutrient loss immediately upon freezing.
Yeah.
It's always best fresh, but frozen spirulina is way, way better than powdered spirulina. Ever will be at any given time. So I'd rather have somebody not keep it in the refrigerator for a month and use it. It's better to freeze it and use the frozen in a month than it would be to have fresh in a month.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And I guess if they have questions, most of them are probably answered on the website, right?
Most of them are, yes. Every time we get one that's different that we haven't seen before, I reply and then I share that on that. And you can search and find, there's so many different questions and answers there. But certainly if it's not there and you have another question, please call me, email me. I'm available. It's almost 24/7.
Yeah, all you're doing is working all the time, right?
Yeah,
so they can reach you.
It's a passion of ours, and that passion is the energy, the fuel that keeps us going, and the spirulina is also the energy that keeps everything rocking and rolling here.
Do you have a contact form on your website?
Yes, we do.
So people could use that also?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and the other thing that I remember is I don't know about now, it depends on what happens in outer world and society, but you have been having retreats every year, right?
Yeah, so every year we do 2 to 3 retreats. We do them in remote locations where we bring 15 people into a private place. The last one we did was Costa Rica. The one before that was Hot Springs, North Carolina, which is up north of Asheville. We did Flagstaff, Arizona. In Costa Rica, we have an abundant amount of coconuts, but what we do is we fast for 7 days on the spirulina. 15 people, we do full biometrics every day, morning and night. We do colon hydrotherapy, massage, yoga every morning. We do excursions, and we also have about 2 hours of classes a day where we educate and teach people the Hippocrates health lifestyle and the Gerson lifestyle for treating serious diseases. What we are very close with Dr. Patrick Vickers of the Gerson Institute. Highly, highly, highly recommend this place if anybody is struggling with fighting a serious disease as cancer. It's GersonClinic.com. And they have been using our spirulina for about a year now with amazing results. They do targeted photodynamic light therapy on tumors. They flood the body with the spirulina, and then they target the tumors directly with this photodynamic light therapy. It's 7 to 9 to 10, 12 juices a day, hyperbaric chamber, beamer technology, and there's so many applications that we can take the spirulina and use it towards. That's also our passion, is to share the knowledge and share the health that we all, we have this vibrant health, and we want people to understand that you can have this too, and don't have to be conditioned to the allopathic medicine. They're great for doing diagnostics, but once you learn what you are dealing with, then find a natural way of preventing that from happening, and that prevention will be your cure.
Yeah, I guess so far the only time it's really hard to avoid allopathic medicine, unless they start forcing things on us, of course, but if you get hit by a car.
Correct.
It's hard to do that with spirulina, right?
That's right. Now, if I get hit by a car, please rush me to the emergency room. I don't want 10 jars of spirulina.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't be a good experiment.
Right. No, that's exactly right.
But there's an important safety tip. Try not to get hit by a car if you can avoid it. Yeah. Okay, so, one more thing. If somebody wanted to use it on their skin, what do you do for that?
So the protocol that we suggest is first do a good cleaning of your skin. You can use a Turkish bath mitts that we use. Okay. It's a cotton little mitt that you can find them on Amazon. Type in Turkish bath mitt. It's a different grades of abrasion. It's just an exfoliation. We get in the shower and really scrub, and you see the skin just kind of coming off.
Yeah, it's good.
Once that's off, then you would take castor oil and rub castor oil on. If you wanted to just treat one area, you would rub the castor oil there. Give it about 10 minutes to soak in. Then take the spirulina just as it is, right out of the jar, and rub it on that spot. And then wait about 30 minutes minimum for it to dry. Then you wash it off, and then you take cacao butter, which is chocolate, from the chocolate bean. Yeah. Cacao butter. Lightly let that melt or become soft enough where you can rub that on top. And if you want to do that on your entire body. That's something I do at least twice a year, here in Florida.
Right.
We'll just have brand new baby skin.
How long do you leave the cacao butter on?
You can leave it on all night if you want. I mean, that's the last final stage. It just seals it in. Right. It makes it nice and soft. Your body, if it's good and healthy and clean, your pores, it will soak it right up anyways. I mean, I put a bunch on, a few hours ago, and don't have much on me.
Right. Yeah, it gets soaked in.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess bottom line for people to remember the reason. What would you explain to somebody who this is a new idea to? Why do you want living food? I mean, what's the point of that compared to what most people eat?
Well, we are living creatures. dead food equals dead bodies. Living food equals living bodies. Now, if you want to be alive, you need to bring in living foods. They have the energetic frequency, they have the hormones, the oxygen, the phytonutrients, and the enzymes. They have the hope. All cooked food is devoid of hormones, oxygen, phytonutrients, and enzymes. The hormones are going to control your hormones of your body. And when you're deficient in hormones, you run into a lot of different problems. Oxygen goes away when you cook food. If you walk into a kitchen of a chef cooking food, and you smell the air smells like it tastes. It smells delicious. That's because the nutrients that were in the food are now in the air. There's more nutrition in the air in a kitchen where somebody's cooking than there is in the food.
Yeah.
Next is phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are destroyed at 100 degrees. Phytonutrients strengthen the immune system. All plants have phytonutrients. And the last one is enzymes. All enzymes are destroyed over 100 degrees. We need enzymes to break down the foods and be able to utilize the foods in our bodies. And if we keep eating foods that are devoid of enzymes, we're going to deplete our body of our stored up enzymes, and then you're going to get disease.
Yeah. Okay, well, and what are you going to do if you eventually get noticed and you get a lot of people wanting spirulina? Are you thinking that you could expand greatly, or what are your thoughts about just in case that happens?
We have 10 acres here. We're using about 1 acre, so we have another 6 acres of usable land ready to go. So as the production, as the sales and the demand keep climbing, we can stay ahead of that and keep building new systems.
Yeah. And besides, there's the rest of Florida is available, so you can.
That's right. There's a 100-acre farm down the street for sale. We could go buy that, and if we needed to, and fill it. We actually did a math formula that we found out that the state of Vermont, the land in the state of Vermont, if we grew spirulina on all of that land, obviously it would be in tropical area.
Yeah.
We could feed every single person in North America all the nutritional requirements.
You said except for B12, right?
Except for B12, correct.
Well, but you don't have to get the B12 if you go get dirty.
That's right. So all the rest of the United States would be freed up for our play land. That
would be 100% spirulina diet for everybody, right? 100%
spirulina diet. The spirulina is about 70% protein, but that protein is the highest source of protein on the planet.
Even in its hydrated form like that, it's still 70%?
It's 70% in this by dry weight. So any food that is tested in the lab for the nutritional profile,
they dry it out first.
They dry it out first, and then they test that.
So how do you translate that to the state it's at in the jar?
This is 19% dry mass. If you dried it, you'd have 19%.
So you take 19 times 70, and you get the percent protein.
Of 19.
Say that again. Sorry, I didn't hear.
It would be 70% of 19.
Okay, so that's about 13%, something like that, of the
total right.
Of the hydrated part is protein.
Yes, but you also have all the cofactors that are in the liquid. So there's a key thing to understand, that these water balloons have intracellular fluid on the inside of them.
Yeah.
And that's where the amino acids are. And the amino acids create the protein molecule that is required for our bodies to use as building blocks for new cells. Whereas a protein that comes from an animal source is not necessarily the amino acids that our body can use, because they were used by that animal to create that molecule of protein. So our body has to take it all apart if you eat meat, and then figure out how to put it back together again using other amino acids from other places to create cells again. So this is basically all amino acids. That's what it's, this is the raw material.
Yeah, but quite a bit. I mean, if that calculation was correct, about 13% of that pound is pretty much pure protein.
Pure protein, that's
even
correct.
In the hydrated form.
And it's all usable. It's all 100% bioavailable.
If you were going to try to get it in a healthy form from an animal, like if you were an actual carnivore, you'd need to eat the whole animal and eat it raw. Right?
That's
and
right.
That, if you were designed to do that.
Right.
So, but spirulina works better.
To do that at all. I always like to say, if we took a 2-year-old child and put it in a crib, and we gave it a bunny rabbit and an apple.
Yeah.
No way in the world that child would eat the bunny rabbit and play with the apple. It would never happen.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
Yeah, that's a good illustration. But fortunately, we can hunt for spirulina. If it's in a jar, it's not too difficult.
That's right.
So, okay. Well, that was fun, and I think everybody needs to check it out, see what they can do with it, and if they don't know, learn about what happens to you if you start eating living food. It's really pretty interesting.
One spoonful will change your life.
Yeah, it's amazing. I haven't tasted anything like it. So hold on and we'll say goodbye in the break here.
Okay.
Okay, so that was Tim White of rawlivingspirulina.com, and I hope you guys found that interesting. I kept him longer than I thought I would, just because it's unusual to run into somebody that, well, first of all, has developed something like the process for raw living spirulina, he says. But also he's been on 100% raw foods for something like 16 or 18 years, and that's pretty unusual. So wanted to question him a little bit about that. It's super interesting. And as he says, all the frequently asked questions are on rawlivingspirulina.com. And there's a contact form there if you have questions that aren't answered on the site. Or if you want to buy, some spirulina, then there will be ways to do that are, more visible very shortly. And maybe by the time you hear this too. So let's see, what else do I want to say? Well, very interesting. His connection to Hippocrates Health Institute, because I've met Brian and Anna Marie Clement when they were in Arizona, and really good people who, as far as I can tell, are really living what they're teaching, which is fairly unusual as well. And I appreciate what they're doing. And Brian does a free webinar once a week, or no, once a month. Once a month? Yeah, once a month, that you might want to sign up for. And I don't remember the exact site to sign up for that on, but you could go to Hippocrates Health Institute and probably find it quite quickly. And they're nice people to talk to. I've had a lot of communication with them. They've done a lot of work. In fact, I met Ann Wigmore, who started Hippocrates Health Institute before Brian was involved. I think I met her in the mid-'70s in California. And a really amazing lady, known for healing people with wheatgrass juice, and they've developed that a lot further at this point, apparently using the fresh spirulina as well. So anyway, that was a great presentation by Tim, and just want to remind you guys to get on our mailing list. We're not going to get banned for talking about spirulina. That's not seen as a threat, but some of our other subjects are possible reasons for that. So go in and sign up while you're thinking of it on lostartsradio.com, and you'll see the mailing list. Sign up there, or send an email, info@lostartsradio.com with your name and the email address you want it to go to. And we're not doing it now, but in the future, if we need to reach you that way and we're not able to get out on the internet, then that would avoid us losing contact. The other thing is we have a channel on Brighteon.com, which is now able to be subscribed to. which I would recommend because Brighteon's run by our friend Mike, who won't censor us on that. And even if the other platforms disappear, I don't expect that one will. Not without it being totally destroyed, which is not going to happen right away, I don't think. And that's Brighteon, BRIGHTEON.com/channel/Lost Arts Radio. The other thing is, if you want us to be able to keep operating, you might want to support us if you have the means to do that, and also to eventually build the school, which is a project that is described a little bit on lostartsresearchinstitute.org on the Eldamar tab, although the configuration has probably changed now due to the situation with these lockdowns and restrictions on travel, and which they want to make permanent if they can possibly do it, and we'll see what happens. But you can get a feel for a little bit of what that would be like. We're not doing commercials, and one of the ways we get funds to keep operating and maybe eventually build the school is direct donations. LostArtsRadio.com has a donate button, and so does LostArtsResearchinstitute.org. And then we've got a Subscribestar page, which is subscribestar.com/LostArtsRadio. And then we get small membership dues from members of Planetary Healing Club, which is a live meeting once a week where Doug and I are there every week, and we talk about whatever you want to talk about without worry about censorship. And we share information that is based on very old healing knowledge adapted for now. And we can, talk about how it would be used in individual life and health situations of all kinds, and transforming your life and making everything you do better, including relating to other people and things like that. The access to that is at planetaryhealingclub.com if you're interested. Be happy to see you there live on Saturdays, and members have access to all the recording after the live show anyway, if you can't make it, and then email in topics that you want covered at the next meeting. That works out fine. And even if you're not interested in that, any suggestions or comments or questions about things you'd like to see on our regular shows, like the Saturday show, for example, at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, called Lost Arts Radio Live, usually things relevant to current events in the world. You might want to see that. It's public, and anybody can watch it for free. And then half an hour after it's over, we have the private club meeting, and you're invited to that too if you're interested. I think that's most of what I wanted to say. We're on a lot of different platforms, including various audio-only platforms. And if you go to lostartsradio.com, you'll see all the different ways to watch the shows. So I think that's about it. I hope you were interested in the Spirulina show with Tim White, and check out his site, rawlivingspirulina.com, if you have questions or want to consider learning more about it. And in the meantime, consider joining the club or coming to more of our public shows, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Okay? Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.
Introducing Lost Arts Radio on Subscribestar.com. Just go to subscribestar.com/LostArtsRadio to find our rewards program, offering 10 different giving levels starting at just $5 a month. We offer incredible value for any rewards level, from extra monthly interview videos not available publicly to subscription-based Planetary Healing Club videos once, twice, or 3 times a month, to private counseling sessions with Lost Arts Radio host Richard Sachs, to tech help with me, Doug Diamond. We even have one option where you can be the star on Lost Arts Radio as our guest on a specially produced show just for you. We conduct an interview with you and broadcast it to our growing network and listenership. Our Subscribestar levels are one of a kind and offer great rewards for any budget. Please help support Lost Arts Radio. We can't do it without you. With increasing censorship on many of our channels, we really need your support today to keep doing what we're doing. As Richard says, we're not even at survival level yet. Lost Arts Radio has 3 weekly shows. Lost Arts Radio Live each Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, which is a live stream currently on multiple platforms in case we get banned from some of the larger ones. Right now, we're on 2 YouTube channels, Facebook Live, Periscope, which is Twitter, Twitch, and DLive. You can access these broadcasts by going to www.lostartsradio.com/live for all the links to those channels. The Planetary Healing Club meets right after Lost Arts Radio Live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Saturday nights. And our Sunday show with guests airs at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Sunday nights on our Blog Talk Radio channel, our YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and on Brighteon. Be sure to sign up for our free email list just in case we do get banned on big tech's platforms. It's just a matter of time, really. They don't like the stuff we talk about, and they do not want the truth out there. In fact, they have already attacked us numerous times. Join our free email list so we can let you know where we are and how to access our shows. The sign up button is right on the top right on most pages of our website. The best starting point for all things Lost Arts Radio is our main site, lostartsradio.com, where you can find the hottest news selection videos that we curate just for you. Those are on the homepage and added to daily, as well as articles and breaking news about information you really need to know. Our show archives, the 10 most recent shows, are right on our homepage, as well as our Blog Talk Radio page at blogtalkradio.com/lostartsradio, or just click the All Things Radio Show tab right on our website. We're in the podcast directory on iTunes, and all of our shows except the banned ones are on our YouTube channels at Lost Arts Radio and at Diamond Disc. Our Brighteon page is really taking off, and we often have editors' picks videos right on their homepage. Visit brighteon.com/channel/LostArtsRadio. On our site, you can also access our free listener forum as well as sign up for the Planetary Healing Club, which is just $25 a month, where you get private access to a one-on-one interaction with host Richard Sachs and myself and the other club members who participate live. More info can be found at planetaryhealingclub.com. We're providing solutions in there to make the world a better place. Come join us. Stay tuned, because up next, you'll get to hear a really great song by an independent artist that we're doing our best to support. Go to lostartsradio.com/music for the full list of all the great songs and bands that we spin on our audio-only podcast shows. If you're in a band and want to submit a song for consideration for airplay on Lost Arts Radio, visit my website at diamonddiscaudio.com for more information about the music placement, mastering, and mixing work that I do. Thanks again for listening to and supporting Lost Arts Radio. We love having you as part of our family to learn, experience, and grow with.
We're gonna fly through the sky, gliding through the air. You see, it's everything that we can be. We're just flying to the sky, gliding through the air. You see, it's everything that we can be. We're just flying to the sky. Another cloud we move on through, another mile we pass on to. Another shining star, another day turns into night, another place that's in our sight. It's what we're meant to do. What we're meant to do. What we're meant to do. Gliding through the air, you see, it's everything that we can be. We're just flying to the sky. Gliding through the air, you see, it's everything that we can be. We're just flying to the sky. Another trip into our place, another time, another space, another world to change. And as we reach up to the sky, there is another thing to try. It's what we're meant to do. What we're meant to do. to do. Fly. Keep on reaching. We're gonna fly. Keep on reaching. Keep on reaching. We're gonna fly through the sky.